And we're off.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna give Ray and Fred another moment. Um, I didn't hear from either of them that they weren't able to join us. So that's not 7 o'clock yet.
Yeah, I was just emailing with Fred, so
Okay. Um, we have a couple of guests, a couple of people from the public.
Well, I did post it on quite a few
I know,
Framingham
so
sites.
that's good. Yep.
Since we're recording, do you want to read the requirements from the governor's office?
Yeah. There's Fred. Hi, Fred.
Hi, Sean.
Okay. I'm sure Ray will be along momentarily. Okay. Let's get this meeting started. All right. This meeting is a remote police advisory committee meeting via Zoom. This meeting is being held fully remote in accordance with the Governor of Massachusetts order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law C-30A, Section 20. To listen to this meeting using a cell phone, please call area code 646-558-8656, and the passcode is 147340. A recording of this meeting will be archived on the City of Framingham's public meeting portal via the city's website as soon as possible. Lastly, we always welcome members of the public on our Zoom call, but we ask that you please ensure that your audio feed remains muted until the chair recognizes you to speak. Okay, we will take roll call. Dwayne,
here.
are you here?
Yep.
Fred,
Here.
Susie,
I am here.
Lee,
Here.
Bobby,
Yes, I'm here.
and I'm here, Sean Granoff, and Ray. Ray is here?
Ray's here.
Ray's here. All right, excellent. We're all here. So we'll move on to item number 2, public participation. And we actually have a handful of public. So I'm going to give everybody an opportunity, not an opportunity, I'm going to allow everybody to talk. That doesn't mean you have to talk. But if you would raise your hand, if now you would like to say something. I see one hand raised. Kathy. Hi, Kathy.
Hi. First of all, I want to say thanks to Susie again for posting this. It's a good outreach, and I reposted hers as well. So hopefully that's another way of you getting out the information to the public. I also want to thank the police. We had a very successful drug take-back day in Framingham about a week ago. And thanks to them and working with the DEA, we got over 400 pounds of expired and unneeded drugs out of people's houses. So I think we have to always keep, it's twice a year, um, the last weekend of April and the last weekend of October, working with the DEA, who was right there in the parking lot, drop off and everything. And it's a way of making sure people remember to check your medicine cabinets, check your drugs. If you don't need them, get them out, because someone visiting you or someone in your household could use them inappropriately and you don't want that. And this is a safe disposal. So thank you to all the police department administration for making sure that happens. And I look forward to Deputy Chief Sean's presentation tonight. And Chief Lester Baker. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I do not see any other hands raised of the people from the public who are joining us this evening. So I will move on to agenda item number 3, which is our police department informational update. Deputy Chief Riley, I believe that the floor is yours.
So, Chief, do you want me to share the PowerPoint and you just go through it? How do you want to handle it?
The floor is yours tonight. As you can see, I'm very casual. You're in charge.
Yeah, very good. All right, so let me just pull up. If you could just let me share my screen, that would help, please.
Let me see. I might need a reminder on how to do this. That's to share my screen. Who was the one that helped me last time? This was, oh, I know what. Actually, Sean, you should be able to share your screen. You don't, down in the lower part of your window view, you don't see share screen?
It's there, but when I click on it, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
It says, Sean, only you can share in the meeting. So I think you have to allow others to share their screen.
You may have to make him a whatever you call it.
Co-presenter.
If that
Yep.
works.
Co-host.
Okay,
Co-host.
right. Right.
So if you
Okay.
hover over his video, there's 3 dots in the corner. Click on the 3 dots and you should be able to do something from there.
There you go. Deputy
Yep.
Chief Riley,
Okay.
you're now the host.
Yep,
Thanks, guys.
All right, excellent. So let me pull up this first one here. All right. Can you all see that screen right now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right, excellent. All right,
Yep.
let me just get myself small here so I can share this. Okay, so I'll go through our normal presentation that we do each month. So I'm assuming the actual presentation I'm going to do is a different agenda item. So we'll take one at a time, I guess.
You're correct. Yeah.
Yep. So calls for service. This past month, 4,209 total calls for service in April 2024. Top calls for service, as you can see on the screen: motor vehicle stops, medicals, directed patrols, suspicious activity calls, and well-being checks. And the heat density map to my right, I'm assuming you're right as well, just shows you where, the most calls for service are. And the darker the dot gets, the bluer, that's where the concentration of calls are for that month. There were 90 arrests in April. This does not include summonses or warrants issued. So if we had a criminal complaint, a summons, that was not included. This was actual 90 arrests. We had warrants, 14, assault and battery on a family household member, commonly known as a domestic. We had 10 warrants outside, which is basically, that's outside of Framingham District Court. So that could be a warrant, say, from Natick District Court. It's titled, just so you guys know, outside. Trespass, we had 9 arrests for trespassing, and drug possession class A, we had a total of 4. So as you can see, it's very small, but the map of where the arrests occurred by those little dots you see on the map. And the demographics, 71 were male, 19 were female, 15 Black, 69 white, 1 Asian, and 5 unidentified as unknown. 8 were Hispanic, 27 not Hispanic, and 55 unknown. So accidents, we had a total of 199 accidents in April of 2024. And again, that's reported accidents. So if there was a minor fender bender somewhere in the town and the two people just exchanged paperwork, that wouldn't be captured by us because they never called us. So accident hit and run, we had 34. Accident motor vehicle, we had 157, excuse me, and 8 pedestrian accidents. And again, you can see on the right there, the heat map as to where our accidents occur. So our community impact unit for April, this is the unit that was started back mid-October of 2023. They had a total of 25 arrests. We try to separate out their calls for service. They had 124 calls. And their calls were suspicious activity, park and walks, motor vehicle stops, suspicious person, and compliance checks. And the calls for service per day, you can see it on the right. Those zeros is probably their days off. So, and then this tracks, we're tracking their calls for service per month. So back in November, we had 85. And then in April, we had 124. I mean, now the spring months and summer months are coming, they'll definitely be a little bit more active out there, just based on, people come outside. And then arrests per month, again, they had 25, and you can see kind of where that's trending. So that's the presentation that we usually do for just stats for the month. Before I close this out, is there anything anyone wants to either go back to or have any questions on?
Deputy Chief Riley, I have a question. I'm not sure it's related to the statistics. Do you want to wait for that or?
No, we can. I guess it's probably easier, honestly, Fred, to address this part first, and then when we get to the second presentation, we can do that.
Sure. I'm just curious because I saw I work over near Bobby at Staples and at the Staples complex, and I come home for lunch hour and I walk my dog. And about 2 weeks ago, I saw that there was a very large police presence on Salem End Road. I think there was an individual who was arrested right at the corner of Temple Street and Salem End. I actually saw him in custody, and there seemed to be, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 units that had responded. And I'm just curious because earlier, maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, there was an incident here at the Buckley where I live. I think there was a drug arrest, and there were probably about 10 units here in the complex at the height of that whole thing. So how are your requirements determined with a response, like your force requirements for a response?
Okay, yeah, great question. So I'm not 100% familiar with the call you're talking about, but I think in general, I think I'll be able to answer your question. So any call to service we get, we always try to dispatch at least 2 officers to that call. So there's always at least 2 officers responding to a call, for backup reasons and officer safety. So you'll have a primary and a secondary officer at every call. That's the ultimate goal for every call of service we go on. In the case that you're talking about, my guess is obviously we had an arrest. I'm not sure if it was motor vehicle related. If there's multiple people, say, in the vehicle are involved, even if they weren't arrested, we would ask for additional units. Again, not knowing, I'm making some assumptions here. Go ahead.
So what I saw was that the person who was in custody, he was handcuffed. He was on foot, and maybe if it's someone who's on foot and you have to cover a wider area of responsibility because the person's obviously a motor vehicle, you're kind of confined to roadways. But if you're on foot, you have a little bit wider area and it may be a little bit easier to elude the police. I'm just, I was just curious about that because it's very unusual that there were maybe 5 or 6 units just right all along Salem End Road. And I was wondering if you've ever had any criticism about your response being, I guess, excessive in terms of the levels of force that you display.
So I would say we definitely have received, comments on, why were there 5 cruisers there? And a lot of times, if I have the information at hand, you can explain why we had that many units. Perhaps this person that was placed under arrest maybe fled a scene and we had multiple units searching for this person. So obviously, you're going to have a bunch of units in the geographical area searching. And then usually once the arrest is made, a lot of times the units will kind of converge in on themselves, do in essence a quick debrief. Okay, we all sit here, and then they'll start to go their separate ways. Obviously the amount of officers on any scene in and of itself is a show of force, right? And we understand that. So for a traffic stop, I'll use that as an example. You might have one car back up a cruiser, but if all of a sudden you start to have 3 or 4 cars backing up, that starts to, it could be, in my opinion, excessive. So you would wave off, say, car 3 and 4. Nope, all set, but keep the second car there for officer safety in backup. So it's kind of it's a fluctuating thing that happens on call to call. Officers will respond to back each other up.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the explanation.
I hope that kind of answered it for you.
No, it did. I was just curious as to that because I saw it. It just prompted a question, and thank you for the answer. That clarifies things a great deal. I appreciate the information.
Okay. Go ahead, Susie.
Hi there, how are you?
Good.
I don't know, I'm gonna go with my usual, although I know my dogs are well. But I do want to let the people know, especially we have the public here. And there is a new Facebook page for the Framingham Police Canine Association that highlights obviously the 4 dogs and their handlers. It is a non-profit association, so people can make donations. And the dogs have just become a very useful tool for I hate to call them a tool for the city. They are officers, and they do a great job, and they support the officers and the police department and the community. I also wanted to make sure people were aware of something that I participated in recently and graduated from, is the Framingham Citizen Police Academy. It was a 10-week program, one day a week for 3 hours. We met at the station. We had presentations from all of the different departments, traffic. I thought the person who did crime scene investigation, she just loves her job a whole lot, and I love that stuff. She was fascinating. We met some cadets and heard about what their training goes through. We had a chance to meet the dogs. The state police were there. The woman who runs 911 in Massachusetts was there. It was a fascinating training. People do not realize everything that the police department does. They think they do, but there is so much more going on in there. I've already spoken to the mayor and some of the city councilors and told them that they can't decide what the budget is for the police department unless they attend this and really know what's going on. So I would encourage anyone to participate. Ray and Sean were there with me. We had a great time, and I think there were about 12 or 14 people, and we are all chatting offline now, remaining friends, sharing information. But it was a very, very interesting and enjoyable experience. And I want to thank you guys for putting it on.
And thank you, Susie, for that. And the officers that put it together, ran it, the officers that presented, myself included, we thoroughly enjoy the time spent with all of you. So thank you.
Jay Ball could be a stand-up comedian. No doubt about it.
Ray, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Needless to say, I'd like to second Susie's comments on the police academy. One thing I wanted to add, Sean, you promised to send us, I don't know if you or Sergeant Curtis promised to send us the survey so we can give some feedback. I did not receive one. So did anybody receive one?
I actually did not either, and I contacted Jay. I know that there's been some incidents going on in the city lately that have kept him very, very busy.
Okay,
But he did say that they were getting ready to send it out, and as soon as they were able to, they would send it out.
All right, thanks for the input. Yeah,
I'll follow up with Sergeant Ball on that as
well. All right,
and
thanks, Sean.
Before I forget, the Canine Association also has swag. I have a beautiful Canine Association t-shirt that I'm very proud to wear. They have hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and they're at a reasonable cost. So if you want to, please think about supporting the Canine unit, and you can go get some wardrobe for the summer.
Okay. Sean, the next thing on the agenda, I was just giving an opportunity to speak about the new program that Framingham is rolling out with the Blue Card program, the Blue Envelope and Blue Card.
Absolutely. I'd love to speak on that. So as everyone is probably aware, maybe you're not, in April was Autism Awareness Month. It's a national thing. And Framingham Police, probably in March, we decided we were going to take part in the Blue Envelope program, which is, but the state is now kind of getting behind it. And there's actually legislation, I believe, right now in process. So basically what the Blue Envelope is, it's a self-identifying envelope for those on the autism spectrum that voluntarily, okay, I think it's super important that I get this out there. It's a volunteer. No one's being mandated to do this. So you get the blue envelope, and I wish I had one in front of me or I had this picture up. I would have shown it. So I have a son who's on the autism spectrum. I don't have a problem sharing that. So he drives, and so he can take this envelope and he can put his paperwork in there. So if he's stopped by a police officer, say he's involved in a motor vehicle accident, by showing that blue envelope, it immediately basically tells the officer, oh, this is what I'm dealing with, because some kids on the spectrum, and it truly is a spectrum, can react very differently in a lot of social interactions, whether it's with police or just the general person in public as it is, right? And in high stress or overstimulating environments, they could slow down the way they process things. So the envelope is just this visual cue that they can use, choose to use it or not. And again, it just gives the officer a quick indication, okay, this is what I'm dealing with here, that hopefully takes that encounter and it lessens it. One of the negative feedbacks, and I like to add this in, because I think there's only positives to this. Some people will say, we should treat everyone with dignity and respect. And that is 100% accurate statement. We should. But this is just a visual cue. So we're not necessarily looking at something differently than what it actually is. So again, it's voluntary. We have rolled it out. They're at the front desk of the police station. Someone can come in and just grab one. We'll hand it to them. I sent some up to Keefe Tech High School, asked for some. I'm going to probably get with Framingham High as well. But the Framingham Police is going to take it one step further. We're actually going to do a blue card program. So for instance, if you get wherever you work, you get an ID. So we got the blue card. We bought them. The Flutie Foundation gave us actually a grant for $1,000. And we are going, so a lot of those on the autism spectrum don't drive, but we may encounter them in a school, on a bus, just walking around. And maybe if they're in a crisis situation, they can hand us, our goal is to now have this card where they can hand the card to us. So it's another just visual indicator of who and what we're dealing with. So we're going to hopefully, we're in the process with a company to make sure that we can print these cards out on our ID program. So I'm hoping maybe within the next month, we'll be able to launch that as well. So I hope that kind of explains the program.
Yes, thank you.
That's a
Susie?
tremendous program. I'm sorry if I may, Deputy Chief Riley, because I have a son who's on the autism spectrum and he's very high functioning. And I think that maybe there's a misconception that people who have autism aren't as high functioning as everybody else. And I just remember his one unfortunate encounter with law enforcement. They didn't really appreciate the fact that he was debating the finer points of the law that they were saying he was violating.
Yep.
Now, granted, it was 12:55 in the morning, and he was not in the best position, but he was going to trial, and I think something like that would have been very, very beneficial, probably about 10 years ago in Westerville, Ohio.
Yeah, I totally agree, Fred. And like I said, as a parent, and again, it's all voluntary. We're not looking to stigmatize anybody. It just helps the encounter in the way we interact with somebody. And for instance, and I've stopped many people. We have the Learning Center for the Deaf in the city, and I remember working the midnight shift and stopping cars on Route 9. And you go up to the car, you start talking, and then all of a sudden, you learn very quickly that you're dealing with someone that's deaf. But those indicators help us interact a little bit better, and it lessens the interaction. So
yeah. Susie?
Yeah, I also want to mention, being on the Disability Commission, I'm aware of a lot of things, and even though there might be an individual who's a high functioning, there are certain exterior stimuli that can make things more difficult for them. So for me, being able to show this blue envelope, I don't know if they can write something on the envelope. I do know a young man who, if he was stopped by the police, the strobing blue lights would kind of send him over the edge and confuse him and upset him. So something like that, it helps make the officers aware that, okay, we can deal with this, but we got to turn off these lights. Otherwise he's not going to be able to communicate with us. It's going to be difficult. So I think this is a great program. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it runs and it moving forward.
Right.
Yes, Sean, I don't know. Maybe I would like to get some education as far as that's concerned. Those particular individuals, do they have a special license? When they present the license to the officer, does the officer know what are some of the things that they can do that really make that communication between the officer and the particular individual better?
So no, there's nothing on a license that would identify somebody. And again, if the state ever did something like that, it would be strictly voluntary, right? I don't think you would ever see that mandated. I think the ADA would have probably issues with that. But again, just these little indicators, even they have the Doug Flutie Foundation, obviously very big in the Metro West area, right?
Yep.
They have all sorts of things that stickers on that you could put on the window of the car that as you walk up, it would be an indicator. So, and officers look at that stuff as we do traffic stops, right?
Sure.
You look at all the stickers and everything that's on a car. It's indicators as to what's going on with somebody when you're walking up. So it's really just a visual ray that it helps. Seeing that blue envelope, the officers will hopefully immediately trigger, okay, I know what I'm dealing with here.
Yeah, in this case, it would be a lot for safety reason for both the individual and the officer, because like Susie mentioned, reacting to those lights may be something that will cause, violent behavior. That something we don't want to see anyway.
Right.
Correct.
Yep.
Thanks.
sometimes even like self-inflicted violence. Yeah. Fred.
Two quick questions, Deputy Chief. The first is, are your officers trained in dealing with these kinds of situations with people who have autism?
Yeah, so a lot of our mental health training that we get, and obviously, our co-response program dealing in our clinicians, you're starting to see a lot more training when it comes to dealing with vulnerable populations, whether it's, people on the autism spectrum or any other, disability that they may be dealing with. So yeah, our officers are really on top of their game when it comes to that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And then the second question I have, and this is something I try to ask a lot, is how can we help you raise awareness about this?
That's great. I mean, yeah, spreading the word. If you have social media, I know we shared it out on our Facebook page, and I believe it's X now, formerly Twitter. We shared it. So that's a great way to just kind of push it out there. And, I'm not afraid to explain to people, and respond on our Facebook posts. I don't respond on a lot, but when I do see things, I think people, just doing a brief kind of explanation, I think people appreciate that. So that's just a way that I'll every once in a while get out on our Facebook page. And if I see something, I'll maybe clarify a point on a posting or something like that.
I actually did report on it at the last Disability Commission meeting.
I saw that, Susie. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Sean, I emailed you about this. My daughter has ASD in Honolulu, and I didn't know how far reaching the program is, and doesn't seem to have gotten to the island yet, but I think that any police officer that sees the Framingham envelope with all of the official looking insignia on it, there will perhaps be a new program coming to Honolulu.
I mean, ideally, I think you'll see, a lot of times you'll see these things. They'll start, whether they start out on the West Coast or the East Coast, they'll gain traction throughout the country because we're always talking to each other in various, right. And the chief could speak more to this than I could, as members of the IACP, et cetera, where, right. These programs really do gain traction fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been following the hashtag. Hold on, Susie. I've been following the hashtag Blue Envelope, and the San Diego community, the police department, the sheriff's department, mental health agencies, they have a whole plethora of lanyards and stickers for the car, and the seat belt.
Yep.
I don't know what it's called, but that has the blue envelope seal all over it, and then the card and the envelope, and yep. They really have gone all out.
And Susie, this might be a chance, so Sean, if you go to visit your daughter in Honolulu, bring a blue envelope with you and walk into the police department and say, "Hey, have you guys ever thought of this?"
I'm going to mail her one, and they'll take care of that. Yeah,
I would be happy to go to Hawaii for you. Make
okay,
sure it gets delivered.
All right, I'll be happy to go too. All right, okay, and the last thing for this segment of the agenda is just to take the opportunity to announce that our quarterly presentations that we've been coordinating with the police department to the quarterly presentations. We have tonight, of course, a presentation on property crimes and personal safety. And in August, the police department aspires to have a presentation on school shooter and crisis preparedness. And then towards the very end of the calendar year, there's again aspiration to have a presentation about the rollout of the police department's body cam program. So wanted to get that out there too. So if there isn't anything left to be discussed on agenda item number 3, we'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is the presentation itself. And Deputy Chief Riley will be leading that presentation.
Yep. So let me just get my screen up again. I'm going to make the assumption that everyone can see. Excellent. So,
Yes.
I wanted to try to cover a decent amount of ground on this. So what I'll do is I don't obviously, I took a bunch of different presentations, as you'll see, and kind of combined them into one, and I separated them out. I figured let's use this opportunity to try to look at safety in a bunch of different aspects. So I think it'll be pretty self-explanatory. Some of the slides I'll probably, again, I call it death by PowerPoint. I'm not going to read word for word, but I wanted to kind of throw it out there and just, we'll kind of quickly, these presentations that I do individually are usually 1 hour long presentations that I'm going to try to get down to about 25 minutes of time, if that is okay with all of you. And please feel free to shut me down if you need to. All right, so just real quick, I mean, everyone on the call hopefully knows me. If there's any public that's out there, my name is Sean Riley. I'm the Deputy Chief, and I oversee the operations side of the police department. So basically, anything that falls in the patrol uniform, detective side of the house falls under my command within the police department. So I'm going to talk in these 4 areas of safety tips: home, workplace, cyber online, which was always really kind of focused more around kids. That's where I used to do this presentation. And then we'll get into elder. There's a lot of crossing over of these presentations. So some of the slides, like I said, I'll probably quickly go through it. And then obviously at the end, we open for any discussions or questions. Again, this is a high level 50,000 foot view, presentation. So crime prevention is the attempt to reduce victimization and to deter crime and criminals. Preventing crime is everyone's business. I think that's really super, super important. Your police department is approximately 135 sworn when we are fully staffed. But you have 70,000 plus residents in the city. And those 70,000 people really take part in prevention of crime. You're our eyes and ears every single day. And without the public's help, honestly, we wouldn't be able to do our jobs, because it's very rare that we're actually seeing it happening in our presence. So this really is a community-wide effort. So let's start with home safety. The proper design and effective use of the built environment. This is commonly known as CPTED, Community Policing Through Environmental Design. And I am a big Disney fan, and they are the experts at this. The way they design their properties, their walkways, the way they design their trash barrels and how many feet they are. They design everything so you feel safe. And that goes down to lighting and shrubbery, you name it. It really, the design of the way you design anything, our schools nowadays, our office buildings, everything has a purpose in where things get placed. Anyone who's been into some of our older malls, one of the worst design concepts was all the bathrooms were down these long, long hallways, hidden from out of sight, out of mind. That is terrible when it comes to people's safety. So again, just a couple of these will have some, natural surveillance and some pictures. Natural surveillance increases the threat of apprehension by taking steps to increase the perception that people can be seen. You want target hardening, right? Is good for certain things like a military base, etc. But in a home, it's probably not the best, right? You can show lines of what is private and public. For instance, this picture that you're looking at, that fence is a clear line that anything past that fence you're on someone's private property, right? So little things like that go a big way. But as you can see the windows on that house, and they can see you as well. And again, all of that helps with natural surveillance. Here's another example of that. Again, your landscaping. When houses are built, they put a lot of shrubbery and everything around the house. Trees that'll look great when they're small, but once they get grown, a lot of times they'll block, line of sight. And that's actually a big, big problem when it comes to, anything with criminal activity. If someone has a place to hide, and they can hide and not be seen, whether it's from the street or from the house, that's a big deal. So let's look at this house for example. Obviously, you have a public road, it looks like, and then, it looks private, but if you stepped up into that little walkway there, you would naturally, most people would start to feel a little uncomfortable, right? All right, I'm in someone's private area, even though you're in a semi-public area or even a sidewalk. So just that design concept. And again, these are just some simple examples that it just kind of shows, natural surveillance. Again, design the space to allow visibility by legitimate users and keep possible intruders under observation. Again, if people feel like they're being seen, they're less likely to commit a crime. So that's super, super important. That visual connection. Territorial reinforcement is marking territorial control of the space while discouraging potential offenders who perceive control and avoid it. A lot of places, some of our larger corporations, if you go into TJX's property or Staples or Bose, once you start to enter those areas, you start to feel like, okay, I'm actually being watched, right? You can actually feel the transition into those spaces. And that's very, very strategic in how they do that. So here's an example. This will be like a before and after photo of some septed design. So you can see, you may like a lot of that greenery in there, but as you can see, there's a lot of places to hide and things could happen. So the next photo shows everything cleared out. It's still very green. It's nice looking, but you have that visual connection where people can utilize the space. But those that live there and those that visit there, everyone's kind of under observation and can be seen. And you're less likely to have victims of crime in those areas when it's designed that way. Here's another example, the same type of house you'll see on the right. The hedges are really up high, it's green. And then on the left, they're lower. I bet we could all pick which side, if you were a criminal, which house you're going to probably hit, right? You want to design your property so they don't hit yours, they go to someone else's, right? And I always got chuckles when I did these presentations. You want to make your house so unappealing for the bad guy that they go to your neighbor. And that was just, and this is a perfect example of that, where just, we love that green. It is private, but again, it does give a hiding space for somebody, right? If they're hiding behind those shrubs, you can't see them from the street, and they have the ability to hide and do something that they want to do unseen. Again, example of lighting, right? Lights have come a long way over the years. Obviously on the left there, that's bright LED lights. You can see there's very little shadows compared to the old style lights with their more of a yellow. It's harder to see. So again, lighting plays a huge role in safety. I would bet everyone on this call feels much safer when they're in a well-lit area, right? I like to say, light it up like Fenway Park if you can. Here's another example of, I bet that, light was installed many, many years ago. I laugh, years ago at Shoppers World, a couple of lights were like this, right? They put this light pole there, but then they put a tree right next to it because the light pole doesn't look good in and of itself, right? But now that tree eventually becomes a big boy and now blocks that light, and it defeats the whole purpose. So I think, the landscape designers now need to say, okay, we can have the light pole there, but maybe we have shrubs that are, smaller, and they're not going to overpower, the light. So if this is on public or private property, say this is public, we would reach out to the DPW and say, hey, can you trim those trees back? That way there, that light can properly illuminate the sidewalk. Again, some more home safety tips. Let your neighbors know when you're away. Stop mail delivery. Some of this stuff is probably pretty basic. Leave lights on. Maybe keep certain shades up, certain shades down. Since these PowerPoint presentations were done many years ago, you can even remotely change your shades now. It's amazing, the technology, right? Turn lights on, turn lights off in your house. You can even turn your TV on when you're not. You could be in Florida and you could have all sorts of control over your house. Again, if you make your house look occupied, it's less likely to be victimized. If 76, this is a great one, 76% of house burglaries occur through forced entry on a rear entrance. But that is the one door we don't really secure the hardest, right? Always our front door, but they'll maybe go to the front door, they'll knock. We have documented cases in Framingham where they'll knock on the front door. You don't answer the door, they're not going to break the front door down. Everyone's going to see it. They go around back, and then that's the door they take in. And a lot of the times it has a much easier way to get into the house. So again, keep those back doors just as secure as your front doors. Incredibly important. Safety for children at home. Make sure they have 1 or 2 safe homes in the neighborhood to go to. Do they have your contact information at work, cell phone number? Do they know where you work? I really stress this to, unfortunately, everyone on this call is going to probably know where I'm going with this. Gone are the days where you would go home and you would know every one of your neighbors and every one of your neighbors would know you, right? I remember being called out. I think I had 50 different parents where I grew up because they all knew me, right? But I think it's kind of changed over the last couple of decades where it's sad to say many people don't know their neighbors. So it's important to let your kids know, where you work and have a safe neighbor to go to. So we'll just kind of quickly go into personal and workplace safety. I think this is super important as well. Always keep your car locked, park in a well-lighted area. Walk with friends and colleagues, especially at night, right? If you're leaving work late. This is probably more so during the case of the fall and winter months. It's 4 o'clock and it's pretty dark out. Carry only the money you need for the day. Try not to display your valuables. Again, if you feel like you're being followed, switch directions. Just keep moving. And now, luckily, everyone carries a cell phone. Don't be afraid to, even if you're pretending you're making a phone call, or call somebody and let them know where you are, or call the police if it's really at the point where you feel like you're being threatened or you're afraid. We will come out and we will check on you. Someone tries to rob you, give them the property. You can't replace your life, but we can definitely replace your license, and you can shut down your credit cards, etc. Call us immediately. That's incredibly important. A lot of times people are embarrassed that they're victims. I totally understand that, right? It makes sense. People are embarrassed to say I was victimized, but the sooner you call us, the faster we can start working a case. And it prevents someone else from becoming a victim. Another case that I like to talk about personal safety is, we would rather go to a call and it be a suspicious activity call, suspicious person, and it be absolutely nothing. We had a case many years ago, it was probably 10 years ago now, where a young kid got off the bus over by the courthouse and was sexually assaulted. And when we did our investigation, a lot of the neighbors said, oh man, I almost called the police because there was that the guy was very suspicious. No one, and again, I'm not blaming those people, but I use this as an example of if they had called us, maybe we would have found out what was going on. This person worked down on Route 9 and during their lunch break left and looked to victimize somebody. So again, call us. We would rather, that one time that we catch that person that's up to no good may prevent someone from getting hurt or injured. Again, at work, know the people you work with, who belongs in your building, right? If you work in a secure building and if you're supposed to wear your ID tag, ask. Don't be afraid to ask, hey, do you belong here? Don't be afraid to confront people. If you stay late, make sure that your security or coworker knows you're there. You know, don't walk out alone if you don't have to. Again, potential violence in the workplace. Again, if you start to see an employee acting up, you know, report that up through the chain, whether it's to your direct supervisors, security, if you have it on site, let them know. They might be able to, you know, stop someone from doing something in your workplace before it becomes an issue. Again, know your emergency plans at your offices or buildings that you work at. And ask your building people if do they have security assessments, physical layout, employees, hiring practices. That's all super important stuff. Again, this is how to stay safe at work. Again, following basic crime prevention principles is super, super important, whether it's at home or at work or when you're out and about. So cyber and online. So this one this is important for everybody, but this is one that I really, really stressed with young kids. And there was a second component to this that I didn't include in this presentation, but it was talked about cyberbullying, right? Which is a big deal. Everyone has cell phones nowadays, and we know the Facebook people, and I call them keyboard warriors, right? That will sit behind a keyboard unknown, and it can get really dangerous out there on the web. So just be aware of that. Internet predators, cyberbullying. Be aware of what you're sharing online. Again, I usually target this towards younger kids because they're the most vulnerable when it comes to certain cyber safety issues. Again, internet predators, usually adults, they try to get the trust of kids. A lot of our kids, whether they're young or even young adults, they're out there on those video games. And it's not just a video game that you play at home now. You're literally connected to the world. You know, you could be online with someone from Asia or Europe, and they start to groom young kids. And a lot of crime happens over the web. So just, I really like to stress this to kids and parents to be very aware of what your kids are doing online and on their phones. Social networks, and there's probably a million others, right? Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. These are just a few. Online gaming is another big one, right? You know, your kids are out there on online gaming and they're talking to people that they're quote their friends, and they don't have any idea who they are. They could be a 15-year-old kid out there playing a game with a 55-year-old adult. And that 55-year-old adult could be out there potentially grooming that child. So again, we got to be very aware of what is going on out on our social networks. Again, look for people who spend a lot of time online, right? You know, studies have shown that, you know, kids that are lonely don't have a lot of friends outside of, say, the school area or work, you know, will spend a lot more time online than the average person. Again, willing to chat, you know, they take their time and they'll work it for long periods of time to build the trust up between them and the person that they're talking to. Again, I target this towards kids, but this could be an adult too that is vulnerable, and they could be looking to, you know, get them on a financial crime. Again, they'll ask questions that you don't even realize you're answering, right? You know, well, is mom and dad home? Well, no, I don't have a dad. I don't have a mom. So again, the kids, we got to teach our kids that, you know, there are certain questions that are being asked, you know, to maybe pull up a whole profile of you. And, you know, and then they'll say, oh, this person really knows me. Yeah, because you gave them all sorts of information, right? Again, they'll look up their personal profiles, get their name, gender, age, photos. So again, tell your kids don't give out any personal information on the web, especially if you don't know the people. Again, webcams, digital cameras, these are on everything now, right? Every one of us carries a camera nowadays, right? Every one of us that has a cell phone has a camera built onto these phones. All of our computers have them. So they have access to them. So if you're using your computer, I always say if you have the ability to shut your camera off or put the lens to do that, because people have the ability to gain access to your camera, sometimes unbeknownst to you. Again, they try to convince you to use the camera. They'll start to talk about, sexual innuendos and try to get you to start talking. Again, research has shown that 82% of online sex crimes against minors begin with the offender using child social networking site to gain information. Again, that's where they go to get this information, and they know where to find young kids. Again, this is for everybody. Do not post personal information, pictures, school address, phone numbers, etc. Another big one that I talked about many, many times is I know we're all excited when we go on vacation, but there's nothing worse going back to our initial home safety is, posting that you're at Logan Airport flying to Disney World for the week. You just told the entire world that your house is open for business. So again, be very careful what we're posting out there. I say this on other parts, personal safety. Even be careful what you're putting on the back of your car. I mean, you ever been behind a vehicle where you have all those little, caricatures in the back? If they're married, what sports the kids play, everything. If they have boys, girls, dogs, and cats, because everyone puts those characters on the back. We give a lot of information out to the general public that we don't even realize we're doing. So I tell people be very, very careful what we're putting out there. I'm literally getting a call from work at the same time. I'm going to tell them I'm not available. So pardon me. Sorry.
Quite all right.
The nature of the beast.
Exactly.
So again, create privacy settings. This is important information here for parents, especially, right? You have control over your kids' phones. Set privacy controls on them. Set times where the phone will actually shut off, where the internet will not even come on at night. So when you're in bed, you don't have to worry about your kid up on, put time restrictions in, etc. Again, limit the amount of time online. Again, anything that you wouldn't want published, I almost said on the Herald or the Globe front page, right? I don't know if anyone does that anymore, but you know where I'm going, the audience I'm kind of speaking to here. But if you don't want it on the front page of the Herald, don't say it online. Or put it out on Facebook or Twitter, because that stuff does not go away. Again, instant messages, we've all received them, whether it's an instant message on a social media site or even a robo email that looks legitimate. Don't answer those. Just hit delete. Again, never agree to meet people you don't know. Predators will spend days, weeks, months, and I've been saying this for a bit on this presentation, years there to build trust, just to victimize you. So again, be very, very aware of that. And as parents, we can't be afraid to ask our kids what is going on. Kids ask us why all the time. Well, we can do the same thing. So don't be afraid to get into your kids' business. I know I told my sons, as long as you live under my roof, you'll live under my rules. So we just got to keep that in mind. We want to protect our kids, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Again, what should you do if you think you may be talking to an internet predator or even someone that's just on the internet trying to victimize you, right? Stop, walk away, but do not erase the messages. Immediately tell someone you trust, a parent, teacher, police officer, anybody, whoever you feel like you can trust, talk to them, and let's try to figure out what's going on. Internet safety, the 3 W's. Who is going to see it? What am I sharing? And why do they need it? Super important, right? If you're going to put a picture out there on the internet or a comment, if it's something that you wouldn't want mom or dad to see, you probably shouldn't hit send. So a very simple rule of thumb to put on there. So again, sometimes we're a society that is all about likes and clicks. And we got to tell our kids that it's not that important. Again, posting pictures online, we see unfortunately a lot of this, where inappropriate pictures get posted online, or they share them and then someone else puts them online. And once that stuff is out online, it really truly never ever goes away. So we got to be very, very careful with that. The other thing is, and the chief could talk about this as well, what kids put out online can impact them for their job search later on. During background checks, we may see stuff that they posted, and it could have been very innocent at the time, but it could be very damaging to them moving forward in life. So again, be very aware of what you're putting out there online. And the last part of the presentation is elder safety. How am I doing here on time, Sean? Am I doing all right? All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Just give me a couple more minutes and
No.
So again,
Right.
elder safety and scams is a big one. I really enjoy doing these talks. Our oldest population and our youngest population are truly our most vulnerable population, and that's okay to say that. And I have a lot of fun when I do the elder scams, because I think it's important, especially those of us that still have parents that are alive that may be elderly, can fall victim, and of course want to protect those folks. So 35 million Americans, about 13% of the population are 65 or older. And by 2030, that number will more than double. One study says that fully half of telemarketing fraud victims are 50 or older. And 10% of people over 65 and nearly half of those over 80 suffer from some form of memory loss, dementia, or Alzheimer's. So you're more likely to be a victim. And that's okay. And it's okay, because as we age, certain functions just deteriorate. It is what it is, right? We shouldn't be embarrassed by it, but it's just something that naturally happens. But if we're cognizant of that as we get older, we're better equipped to protect ourselves. And if your loved ones know that, they can hopefully educate you as well. Never give personal information. I've kind of talked about that on some of the other slides, especially over the phone. And this is a tagline you'll see on a couple of these next slides. And I really push this when I do these conversations. Hang up. Remember, it isn't rude, it's shrewd. And we're dealing with that population, right, that does not want to be rude to people, right? That's the population we're dealing with. Oh, I feel bad. I don't want to hang up on them. And I really hammer this home. No, hang up. The longer they keep you on the line, the more they're going to get you to fall victim. And let's use ourselves as an example. If you ever called your cell phone company or your internet provider or your cable provider and said, yeah, I want to cancel, I'm going to go this way, they fight you tooth and nail, and they try to keep you on that line, because the longer they keep you on, the chances are you're going to stay and you're going to get hooked and you're going to buy something. Again, if the caller tells you you've won something for free, but you have to pay something for it, or if it's a prize, you just got to pay the taxes, then it's not free. Again, hang up. Limited time offers. This is another type of scam that they try to get our elders with. Again, what's your number? I'll call you back. Hang up on them. So some of our scams recently, recent examples, and these are Framingham examples. I can't get too deep into them, but banking scams where they'll actually call people, they'll get them on the line and they tell them, do not hang up on us. And we've had documented cases where people have had them on the line for 8 to 10 hours. They have listened to them go into the bank. They have listened to them transfer money. Even when they're in the house, they tell them, we know where you are. We just had a massive scam of gold that was here in the city where we're working with the feds. So again, hang up on these people. Or if we had one recent example where the person went into the bank and they whispered to somebody, I'm being listened to right now. And they ended up taking them in the back and prevented a crime from happening. Again, they use scare tactics, authority type tactics. If you don't buy, I don't get paid. Feel bad for me. Everyone's doing it. Hey, your neighbor just got this brand new, lawn put in. I can do it for you, or whatever the case may be. Don't give out credit card numbers unless you're calling someone you absolutely know. There's just absolutely no reason to do it. Your banks will not call you. They will not do it. They're not allowed to. Guide your social security number. Again, if they offer goods and services, telecom, to send you information. Send it to me. If you know who I am, send it to me. Don't give your address, but send it to me. Again, if contractor calls or offers home repairs, check the Better Business Bureau. Check with neighbors. Check with somebody. Again, I think our elderly population, our older population, just naturally kind of, likes people, and they want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think the younger generation were a little bit more cynical and will question things. But again, it's just protecting yourself. Check out the charities that you like to give to. Give directly to them. Don't just blindly, give to a charity, especially at times of crisis, hurricanes, tornadoes. I bet you're seeing it, the tornadoes right now out in Oklahoma, et cetera, this past week. There's probably all sorts of, quote, charities popping up. Donate to us. We're going to help the victims. And they're just fronts, and they're just stealing your money. Again, if they're saying they're from the U.S. government, border protection, that's all a scam. We are not calling you. So again, don't wire money. It's like basically handing over cash. Once that money gets wired, it is pretty much gone. It's very rare that we can recover it once it's wired, because it literally just bounces around the world, and it ends up all sorts of places. So very, very difficult to stop a wire transfer. We've done it in the past, but it needs to be very, very quick. Again, caller ID. Not a lot of people have home lines anymore, but if you have caller ID, even on your cell phone, you can actually hide your number. There's all sorts of ways to do it where it looks like it's maybe a friend or a family. And I actually was had by this once before, where someone called and they disguised their number as someone else that was in my phone. And I was able to figure it out fairly quickly. Again, if they call before 8 a.m. or after 9, don't even answer the phone. Just hang up. They're not allowed to call by law. Again, you can just request that they take you off the contact list. If they're a legitimate company, they have to take you off by law. Now, I know it's kind of like an email, right? You unsubscribe and it just never seems to unsubscribe. I have a bunch of them I still get, right? So, again, they're supposed to by law. Almost at the end here. This is the very end. 1 in every 6 Americans have had their identity stolen or compromised. I've actually had mine compromised, and it's a pain in the neck. Again, these are just some of the shopping list items that they're looking for. Again, social security numbers. Those of us that are old enough, we know our license used to be our social security number, and they finally switched over to S numbers. Dates of birth, mother's maiden names, driver's license, home address. Again, any one of these things, maybe individually, is not a big deal if they got it, but if they get a few of these things, they can really do a lot of damage. Again, purchase things on accounts, change your address, open up accounts. They all sorts of things they want to do. Again, theft of mail, checks, personal documents. Now, there's a younger generation that don't even know what checks are, right? But for those that I do these talks to, they actually still write checks out. Again, be careful what you throw in your trash. If you're out in public places, what's in your car? Shoulder surfing, if someone's behind you, make sure that you hide your PIN numbers, etc. When you're swiping your card, ATMs, credit card skimmers, they're always one solid device. If you see something that's moving on it, be aware that is not legitimate. If you go to an ATM machine, that machine is one solid device. There's nothing that can come off of it. If you see something that could come off, do not use it. That's a skimmer. Report that immediately. Again, phishing, spyware, this is how they get into your computer, steal your identity. Again, these are just some of what you can do to prevent it. These are just Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. I encourage everyone once a year, you get a free credit report to check out your stuff. Make sure you're safe. Empty your wallet, your purse. We've all seen those old timers, right? That have wallets that are this thick, all sorts of notes and everything. Get rid of that stuff. Protect your mail. Consider a P.O. box. When you do mail stuff, mail it at a post office. I wouldn't even put it in a blue mailbox on the street because they're just subject to that mail being stolen. Destroy junk mail. Know your billing cycles. Again, destroy expired or unused credit cards. The one big thing I tell everyone, invest in a shredder and shred all those documents. Again, photo, utility workers, if someone comes to your door, ask for an ID. Don't just let someone in. Even a police officer. If I show up at your door in full uniform and you say, hey, can I see an ID? Our officers are required to carry their police ID and they need to show it to you. So again, I say that even to us because anyone can buy a uniform and look like one of us. Trim your shrubs, proper lighting. Keep a close eye on this. Go out with friends out and about. Keep your purse, your wallets close to your body. Carry only what you need. Again, public transit, lighted stops. We've covered a lot of this already. Know your neighbors. Report suspicious activity to the police. And again, if you see something, say something. I know I blew through that. I appreciate you guys bearing with me. But I wanted to just share what I had and kind of give you an overview as to some of the things that I've done throughout the years in these 4 specific areas that, we get requests to do presentations all the time. Go ahead, Susie.
Okay. Yeah, actually, Susie, hold on just one second. Now that the presentation is over, I'm going to do my best to give the public an opportunity to raise their hand. But please wait to be called on. I'm going to give Susie an opportunity to talk. Susie, go ahead. You have a question.
Actually, I have a couple things. First of all, I'm sure that Deputy Chief knows this. I've been getting a lot of calls lately from a gentleman with it sounds like it's a robocall. And he said, I'm like, this is a robocall. He's like, no, I'm talking to you through a computer because it's easier. And I'm like, trying to disguise your voice. That's really nice. And he's calling on behalf of the Massachusetts Chief of Police Association. And I usually tell him, you know what? I know the chief of police, if he wanted money, he would call me. So you have a happy day and hang up. Although one of my favorite things to do is to tell someone who I know is scamming me, sure, I'd love to talk to you. Can you hold on a second? And I just put the phone down and walk away and see how long they sit there. You mentioned like shopping carts and being careful of your purse. I'm in the store all the time and you see women looking at something on a shelf and they have their purse in the cart. Somebody could very easily pick it up and walk away. When I go shopping, I take that little seatbelt you put on kids and put it around your purse. So if someone tries to walk away, your purse is attached to that shopping cart. And
that is a good idea.
They're not getting far. And the other thing about credit cards is, and this happened a lot during the pandemic. You call someplace, you want to get a delivery of, Chinese food, pizza at the store, whatever, and you're giving your credit card to them over the phone. Make sure they do not repeat those numbers back to you, because anybody who's standing there waiting to pick up their food is going to write down your credit card numbers and then go ahead and use it. That happened to me during the beginning of the pandemic. And now when if I call and get something delivered, I'm like, no, I will repeat it to you twice. Do not repeat any of the numbers that I tell you. Because I think by the time I realized it, the person had charged up over $3,000 or $4,000. I called the credit card company right away, shut the card down. It was a Discover card. So I actually went online and froze it right away. And then I called the Discover. but it's just one of those things where you don't think that someone, just them confirming your number is gonna cause a problem.
Oh, yeah. Ray.
Yes, thanks, Sean. Sean, great presentation. I wanted to find out if you do any of this, any type of that, any part of that presentation to the kids in school, especially middle school at a certain age, because usually you find out the parents are not technology savvy enough to understand some of those issues you talk about on this presentation. So the kids most of the time know more than the parents, and sometimes doing that type of a presentation to the kids at school probably will definitely help solve some of the issues we're having here. Just a thought.
So I have presented. I actually the cyber, and again, like I said, it was a cyber bullying one. I actually presented to the special education department many years ago, and my son actually came and presented with me on the bullying side of it.
Awesome.
So yeah, I have done that, and I'm always willing to do it. You know,
yeah,
I
but it's
think
not
the more
something. It's not something you do. The police department does on a regular basis, on a sense, once a year or twice a year or whatever.
not really. It's just more based on request. If they want us to come and present, we will absolutely do it. Again, I've been doing it for years since I was the housing liaison officer, so I actually still thoroughly enjoy doing them. I have a lot of fun doing them. So a lot of times I'll come out and I'll do them myself.
Yeah, the reason I mentioned I have my mechanic is from Portugal. Family's from Portugal. The daughter, they have two kids. The daughter got involved into, they got a cell phone, and suddenly she got cyber, and go out with somebody doing drugs, and so everything went haywire from there. So the parents are not really technology savvy, so they didn't understand what was going on. So that was something that could have been avoided. Too bad. So but those things happen, I guess.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bobby, go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Sean. Deputy Chief Sean, you are awesome. This is a great presentation. I can't wait for you to come back to Staples to help us with this. I would love to have this presentation not only Framingham, but nationally. That was super professional. Well done, my friend.
Well, I really do appreciate it, and I went through that incredibly fast. I'll be honest, when I do these presentations, like I said, each one is like a different presentation, and I'll usually spend a lot of time, and I'm usually much more engaging with the audience, but I know you guys don't want to sit here for 4 hours and listen to Sean Ryan. But no, I appreciate that. But again, I just wanted to give you kind of like a high level. These are some of the things that we will talk about in those 4 very important areas.
Yeah. As you were going through the slides, a couple of times I thought, oh, that slide would be good on the department's Facebook page, just as a quick
Yes.
PSA kind of thing. You guys are doing such a good job with your Facebook page.
That's actually a great idea, and I'm going to write that down, that we can maybe start to just kind of throw that stuff out there.
All the hard work's already done. The slides are created. The stats are there. Kathy, are you able to? Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Sorry, I guess we must have had an accident up at the intersection. We could hear the sirens, but we lost electricity and the internet. So I missed part of your presentation, Sean. But I came back in. Actually, I'm a Council on Aging member. And I'm very interested in you sharing the information with Callahan. And they oftentimes have people come in from departments, whatever, and give little presentations. And even with the Friends of Callahan has a lunch, and this might be an informative little presentation for the folks there. And I can bring it up at the council meeting on Tuesday if you want. But I know even our neighborhood, there was a couple that were flipping their house and moving out of state. And I don't know how they got it, but they got scammed. People came, got money from thousands of dollars. Finally, a couple of us neighbors found out what was happening. And these are intelligent seniors, and yet they were taken for a ride. Also, even we're accountants, and we even get calls from Department of Revenue, supposedly, IRS. We need you to call right now, answer the phone, or you'll be arrested. This is very common sense. They must go down a call list, and they don't care who they just hope that they can get someone as a target. Also, people coming around the neighborhood. I know a few years ago, we had someone doing driveways, and a couple of people said, "Oh yeah, oh this is a really good price." And I said on the Facebook page, "Be careful what you wish for. It's too good to be true. It usually is."
Yeah.
And we had like 10 different houses all dug up in the neighborhood, and then they left.
Oh,
So people learned that don't, if they come in and they have to have their tag on, ask them for their ID. But also, good neighbors are important, so that you look out for your neighbors in the neighborhood. And if you see someone in the neighborhood that doesn't seem like they belong, or they're coming with a computer, oftentimes they try to see a senior and they'll want to come in the house because we tend to be trusting on our age and welcoming. But also, I found out now I have handicap plates, and they oftentimes look for handicap plates and target those homes. So they got another thing coming if they come to me. But anyway, I think it would. I think it'd be very good if you can come down to the Callahan at some point. That'd be great.
You let me know. I'll be more than glad to. I love doing the senior talks. I have more fun.
thank you, Kathy.
Thank you so much.
Bobby.
Hi, thanks, Sean. Just one last thing is on the 17th, Framingham PD and Framingham High School students, the job shadowing is at 8 in the morning. And, people call me all the time, Bobby, can you help me? My son wants to be a police officer. And so this really is really cool. So the city of Framingham has this Framingham PD, Framingham High School students job shadowing program on 8 in the morning on May 17th. And we will be there and to help fortify the history, the next history of the Framingham Police Department. Can't wait.
Yeah, that's fantastic because it's that next generation that we want to attract into the PD. So any opportunity we have is critical.
And Bobby, when you say we, are you referring to Staples or Police Advisory Committee?
Yes, both. Yes.
Actually, not Police Advisory Committee. We've actually been asked to maybe take a step back from that because the kids are the focus of that, not rubbing elbows with the Police Advisory Committee.
I get it. I get it. So yes, Staples.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Sean.
Lucky you guys.
You bet.
Okay. I think that's it for the presentation. Thank you very much, Deputy Chief Riley.
And Sean, as in she Sean, not he Sean. You make sure you let me know exactly where this will be posted on the city page, and I will go back into all of the Facebook groups and just put in some sort of link if they want to go and see it.
Okay, we'll talk. I'll give you that information, but there's more to say about that.
I just heard your New York come out.
It was on purpose.
Okay.
Bobby, your hand is raised. Do you have something more to say? Please, if you do.
Oh no, I'm done. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I missed that.
I don't want to
Sean, if
skip
I can
over
ask, I don't know, Mary Ann, I see you there. I don't know if you have any questions because you always had lots to say in our Citizens Police Academy.
No, I'm just listening to you all and I'm enjoying it. So
We're enjoying having you here.
okay.
Hi,
Thank you.
Mary Ann.
Hi.
Thanks for joining again.
No, I've tried to do this regularly.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna move on to agenda item number 5. Deputy Chief, if you would like to hang out with us, please do. If you want to go about your evening, please do that.
I'm gonna go eat a late dinner with my wife, but I appreciate it
Good.
because I've been out of state the last couple of days. So
Tell
I'll
the
talk to
chief,
you guys
Take
later.
care.
tell
Yeah.
the chief we wish
Thank
we
you
had
so
more
much
time
for
to
the
talk to him.
presentation. It was terrific. We really
Yes.
appreciate it.
Thank
job.
you. Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, be good. Bye now.
All right. Phew. Okay. Agenda item number 5. Dwayne and I, as we announced last month, are allowing our time at the Police Advisory Committee members come to an end next month. But in our role of chair and vice chair, the mayor would like to meet with us before we end our official time on the committee. And that meeting is scheduled to happen on May 21st. And I was just hoping that we as a group could take the opportunity to put our heads together so that Dwayne and I give all of the information to the mayor that is full and accurate. Primarily what the mayor wants to know is what's going to be going on in the committee for the remainder of the year without a chair and a vice chair. What are the goals? What are the projects that have started that are going to continue in our absence? And what are some other things that we've been wanting to say to the mayor and haven't necessarily had his ear? Dwayne and I will have both of his ears on May 21st. So
I think one of the things that the committee needs to work on is, I know that a lot of the boards and commissions in the city are being, I don't want to say pushed, but prodded strongly to make sure that their rules and guidelines and ordinances, whatever they have, are thoroughly reviewed for any changes that they want to make, and updates. The city clerk's office seems to be looking. She's supposed to have, everyone's supposed to have something on file in the city clerk's office, and she has very few of them. So she's looking to get them from the committees that don't have one, but the ones that do, such as our ordinance, they really want to make sure that these are updated, because a lot of stuff has changed, from when this started. When I was there in the beginning, when this started, what we put together, it was a completely different chief, with completely different guidelines of what he was looking for and interests. And he had a lot to do with the ordinance that we put together. So I think maybe a review of the ordinance.
the city's ordinance.
Yeah.
As it applies to PAC.
Right.
Okay, I'm with you.
We kind of need to take a look at it and make it more generic for like any chief that would come on board. Because Chief Baker is completely different from the past chiefs. So I think we kind of need to take a look at it and look at what is in there that is not working now or is not relevant to now, and get it updated.
Okay, I'm making notes.
I would also,
that's a future thing to work on.
Yes, well, yeah, you're looking for things that we're going to be working on.
Right.
I mean, I would also be really interested in, and I know he's busy, he's got all kinds of things going on, but I think for different boards and commissions, it's helpful if the mayor can show up for a half an hour at a meeting and see what's going on and listen and ask questions and talk to us. City Hall seems to be very separated from the boards and the commissions.
Okay.
I mean, I've already had a big discussion with Charlie about the fact that he needs to sign up for the Citizens Police Academy. But you know, to me, if someone from the mayor's office can sit there and say to you, so what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Well, gee, that's just completely out of touch. That would be like, something like me saying to my son when he was in 5th grade, so what are you learning in school?
Right. So I wrote down, even maybe does the mayor read our meeting minutes? Because those get posted to the city archives. Or does anyone in his office read the meeting minutes and report to him? But I also made a note about attending a small segment of our monthly meeting, maybe even once a quarter, every other month.
And I mean, I know that there are a lot of meetings, but if he attended a half an hour of each meeting every quarter, it doesn't add up to that much.
Right. In our opinion. Okay. Ray, I'm going to go to you.
Yes, Sean. I got a simple question to ask. Is it legal for the chair and the co-chair to disappear like this?
Well, we do have connections. We can always grab a pair of those handcuffs, and I'm sure we can borrow 2 police canines to sit and make sure they don't move too fast.
Look like we're losing overhead. Usually the co-chair will step in as a chair. Now we're losing both of them.
Your comment is not lost on me, Ray. I think that it's really a rather unfortunate that the 2 people whose terms are ending on June of 2024 happen to be the chair and vice chair. That just is unfortunate the way it worked out.
But I have to admit that there is an excellent potential candidate sitting in our audience with the name of Mary Ann.
I'm already on another committee, so
you can be on 2.
Actually, yeah, Mary Ann, you are actually allowed to be on more than one mayoral appointed committee.
I thought it, and I got rid of the Steiner rule, so now you can be on 2 committees.
But let's Susie, let's not put the screws to Mary Ann in public forum.
Yeah, we'll do it offline.
Thank you for the consideration.
I got your phone number, girl.
All right.
All right.
Bobby, sorry, I meant to say Lee. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Sean. We've discussed this before, but I still have never gotten the sense that there has been any way that the city has encouraged citizens to directly get in contact with us. They don't want to go through the police department, but they want to tell us something about what the police department is doing, either succeeding or failing. And that's never been publicized. I know we talked about, Susan Petroni's publication, putting stuff on it that we generate. But I really would like there to be some way for citizens to be able to talk to us directly, and that be publicized, that's available. And I know that the chief has had some hesitation about encouraging that, but it really would need some city resources. But I still think that should be on our shopping list.
Sorry, say that again. The chief had some hesitations.
Well, remember when we had asked about using the police department social media resources, and he was not enthusiastic about that, as I recall.
Right. Okay, I'm with you. Yes, I thank you for reminding me, and like minds, that is one of the things that I'm hoping Dwayne and I can plead with the mayor, and even, you know, to show our bylaws, um, and what our goals and our mission and purpose is to communicate and liaison with the community. And how can we do that in the 21st century without a social media presence?
Right.
And
That's a
so,
part of our mission that we have been missing because it's structurally not being facilitated,
yep,
where people know that we exist to the point where they can come to us and, talk to us and give us information also, along with us giving them information.
right, right.
And that's in the ordinance and in our bylaws that we should be doing that more
Right.
effectively.
Okay. Bobby, you have your little hand icon raised.
Sorry, I gotta get rid of it. Sorry, my bad.
There you go. Okay, so one of the other goals is, and it's part of the next agenda item, is we started talking about revamping the committee's bylaws, in addition to, like what Susie said, the city ordinance bylaws need to be updated too. But we've spent some time as a committee looking at the committee's bylaws. So that'll be something that I'll tell him is in the works. And maybe it would be helpful even to bring a copy of the proposed verbiage that we're looking at, after the next agenda item, when we talk about how we're feeling about tonight's iteration of the bylaws. If there's any changes to be made, I will make those changes before our meeting with the mayor. Did that make sense? Okay. Anything else? Mayor participating in our meetings on a semi-regular basis, the need for social media, that's more of a plea, that's not necessarily a goal. But the goals are updating the PAC bylaws, maybe getting into the weeds of updating the city ordinance bylaws for the committee. Anything else? Oh, the survey. A second stab at the community survey.
This is tough because I mean Dwayne is like the survey guy.
Yes, but the community survey is in good stead. It's the business survey that maybe is 98% ready to launch. The community survey is ready to go. And Susan Petroni, I hope you guys all recall that I reported that Susan Petroni said we could use the Sunday newsletter and that there's an AI capability to do the translating in many, many languages. So that can be done. Fred, you and Dwayne were sort of partnering on spearheading that. If you would be willing to become the point person for that, if you would take ownership of that in July.
I humbly accept ownership of the survey.
Thank you. And you'll find a new partner in crime, I'm sure, when the committee becomes a 7-member committee again.
I really think that sounds like a job for Ray, to be my wingman on that one. But
I agree. Why wait?
Ray, you've been volunteered. Congratulations.
Voluntold.
All right. I actually think that this is a lot to report on, a lot of really good things. Anybody else?
And I honestly, along with, the mayor stopping in occasionally, I think I think just the suggestion that perhaps city council needs to do some drive-bys. I know they have a lot on their plate, but it's important for them to know what's going on in the city. And if they don't, travel through or read the minutes, or they don't really know what's going on.
Forgive my ignorance, but is it kosher for the mayor to say to the city councilors, this is what I would like you to do?
No.
I didn't think so.
I mean, I've seen, like, the mayor has a report at the city council meeting. He could report, that the police advisory committee is requesting that, maybe he stop by, and whether he thinks it's a good idea, he can tell them that, and he can suggest, it might be a nice idea for city councilors to, because when we used to be in live in person at City Hall in the executive conference room, we'd have walkthrough. Mike Cannon would walk through.
Right.
Maybe we
George
also
King,
can. Sorry.
Go ahead, Fred.
George
Maybe
King
we have separate outreach to the city council.
I can do whatever. I've already told some of them they need to take the Citizens Police Academy too.
I think perhaps one of the goals for 2024 post summer, or when the committee becomes a 7-member committee again, is to have in-person monthly meetings.
And
but
Fred, I have no problem.
not...
I have no problem asking them. I mean, you can ask most of city council. They'll get a phone call, and if the phone number comes up and they answer it, "Hi, Susie, how you doing?" They know they're getting phone calls from me, so I have no problem inviting them to come by. I mean,
I hear you.
I mean, Mike Cannon went had a business trip to England, and I invited him to find me some nice flavored decaf teas, and he brought me tea back. So I can invite them to do anything I want and see how much fun I have.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Lee. Sorry.
Just for the record, Councillor Malik did come to one of our meetings.
That's
so we
true.
have had a city councilor come voluntarily, but only one since I've been on the committee.
Yep.
So, but I did want to note that.
I never noticed that. It would be nice if they made themselves known so we could acknowledge them coming.
Oh, Leora did. Actually, she even spoke. Nicole was chair, and it was before we did the webinar format, so it was just a big happy Zoom call, and everybody had the ability to speak whenever the notion struck them. It's not as constricting as this webinar format is. I think we're one of the few committees that our monthly meetings are the poorer for the webinar restrictions. Like we were just saying, we're supposed to be communicating with the public, and I couldn't get the participants that I could see on my computer screen. I couldn't get them out of the waiting room while Sean was sharing his presentation, because I had to make him host so that we could all see his slides. And because he was host, then I lost control over being able to, it just is like, this is not easy communication with the citizenry. So I told Dwayne before the meeting started, I'm not a webinar fan. I like the Zoom way better. Anyway, sorry for that tangent. So, all right. Okay, well, May 21st is the day. If any of you guys think of any other something that you would like Dwayne and I to discuss with the mayor, or any of, you know, committee goals that we've talked about that didn't get mentioned already, just shoot me an email or even a text. I don't care. Okay. All right. Okay. Number 6, more PAC goals, but this is continuing our work from last month's meeting. Last month we had a wonderful, lively conversation about my stab at changing up the bylaws a little bit, and I sent out as a background information. Did everybody get that attachment? And did you have a chance to read over? I added a section G about attendance. Are you guys with me? Bobby, did you not get the attachment? Or just that didn't have time to read it?
No, I haven't seen it. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
When was it sent?
Fred, did you send it out with the agenda to everybody?
I sent it to the clerk.
But not to the committee members?
Nope.
Oh, that's why you don't. Okay.
So, sorry, Bobby. Sorry, committee members. Then how about a motion we table until the June meeting?
I'll make a motion. We table this to the June meeting.
Second.
Time for vote.
Okay. Okay, so just my part has to be tabled, because the community survey and Susie, that doesn't have to be tabled.
Okay,
That's just discussion. Hold on,
my
Susie.
motion to table Sean's part of this part, and we will continue on with the rest of it.
Excellent.
Second?
Somebody second that?
Second.
Right. Okay. Okay, so then
Time for vote. We got to vote.
right. Thank you. Okay, roll call vote on tabling the discussion specifically about the bylaws, PAC bylaws. Dwayne, how do you vote?
Yes. Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Susie?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Bobby?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
And myself, yes, I vote to table until next month.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, but we've got some information, brief as it is, about the community survey. Dwayne or Fred, who would like to speak to that?
So I can say I haven't done anything since last month on the survey. I think the survey is ready to go out. It's just about, like you said, talking to Susan. So Fred, did you want to take the lead on that?
Yeah, I will do that. I've had work commitments that have kept me incredibly busy, and then I've been traveling a great deal since our last meeting. So my schedule has me closer to home now, so I will take that up immediately.
Okay, I appreciate it. Reach out to me if you have any questions or anything, but I think the survey itself is in a good place, and I think ready to send out, just about the venue and how we're going to get it out. That's all.
Right.
Right.
So Fred, maybe before our June meeting, either one, you will have a strong plan in place with Susan for when is the first newsletter the survey will be in, or two, maybe things will go lickety split, and maybe by our June meeting, the survey will have already gone out in one of the newsletters.
It will be one of those two.
Excellent.
I would like to promise that it would be number two, but
Don't promise.
what was it from Mary Poppins? Promises and pie crusts, they're easily made and easily broken.
I don't promise, but I'm glad to hear that one or two will you'll report on next month. Because I know Susan is busy too, so you might email her and you might not hear from her for a couple of days. So it's not totally in your control of her how fast, quote unquote, this happens.
Right.
Okay. So then the next projects we were working on is recording of the PAC presentations and some scheduling of the quarterly presentations has shifted since our April meeting. So Susie, you've got some updates for us maybe?
Yeah, at this point, pre-pandemic, this government channel had, there were like 4 or 5 of them, and they are now down to 2. Ron would like
You
to
mean
be
employees?
the employees.
Employees.
Ron would like to be able to help us, and he acknowledges how, how important these presentations are. But they do not have the bandwidth to be able to record them. They used to be able to go out, and if there was I remember when we had a grand opening for the new entrance in the library, and they were there and they videotaped it and it was on the government channel. They just don't have the ability to go out and do things anymore. So I'm going to be looking for some sort of options for the school presentation and the body cam presentation. Sean and I did speak. She had a great idea about, at least for the one for the schools, reaching out to the school department. I'm going to try to get a hold of Tremblay's office, because I believe they have a separate audio section, whether it be their audio club or whatever, who
at the high school,
who may be able to and I think these 2 presentations will be larger than the one we had this evening. And I think the other two next 2 presentations may potentially take up the entire meeting, as did the bias bias presentation we had a number of years back when we had it at the police department. And we were able to, at that point, we were able to live stream it using Carlos's laptop. And then I thought, then we have the problem with, okay, we've now figured out a way to record this. And actually, if it works out well with the audio students, we might be able to have a high school student record the body cam presentation as well. If, maybe they get school credit for or something. But then there's the part where it will not go up on the government channel unless the government channel people videotape are the ones who are recording it.
Right.
Yes, we can put it on our page on the city website. But then after I got off the phone with Sean today, and I don't know how well this would fly, but we could try it, is if the police department is doing a presentation on the schools or the body cams, and it's videotaped, I wonder if they would be interested in taking the video of the presentation and putting it on the Framingham Police Facebook page for people to view.
Because it's their presentation. It's not our.
Although it's kind of like, when I posted the one for this evening, I did it as our meeting, but it was kind of like, the Framingham Police Advisory Committee presents Deputy Chief Sean Riley.
Yeah.
And, it could be the same kind of thing. However, this presentation would not be our meeting. it would be us helping to facilitate the recording of their presentation, which that could then be put on their Facebook page for people to view. I know that I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are probably interested in this presentation tonight who, would not able to attend it. So I can go on wherever I posted something, I can go on and provide a link so people can go on and view it. I don't know if we have the ability to see how many people, once we upload this to the city website, do we have the ability to see how many people accessed it?
No.
Because that would have been interesting, but I think if we can get someone at whatever level to videotape this, and the police department would be willing to put it up on their Facebook page because they are the ones presenting, that might be an option for the next two presentations. And it will not be our meeting. It will be presented as their presentation.
What about emailing the chief that question? Just sort of, and it doesn't have to answer immediately because you're not talking about recording a presentation until August.
Right.
But, chief, we know your position about posting on the department's Facebook page for other committees and whatnot. But since you guys are doing the presentation, would you consider
your presentation, our recording it and enabling you to have people view your presentation?
Well, I think maybe you could even say that the thought is we'll try to get somebody from the high school, the FHS AV club to come and record. I mean, so much of it right now is hypothetical. It's very much in the planning.
It is, but I'm luckily, we thought tonight was going to be the body cam. Luckily, it was not, because I think that the next two presentations are like going to be more in depth. I don't know who other than the police department is involved in the school one. Is the school department going to have any part of this presentation? I don't know. I don't know who's putting it together. And I usually reach out to Sean before I reach out to Chief.
Okay.
Because
I only said Chief because he was the one that ruled verbally.
Mm-hmm.
No, I make it a policy not to, publicize on our department's page for anybody other than.
Yeah, but I think sometimes it's easier to bounce it off of Sean before moving it up.
Okay.
But again, it's also, I'm going to have to do some work. And actually, when you talk to the mayor's office, I think it's important for the mayor's office to understand that obviously they're not funding the government channel so that it has the level of employees that it used to. Are they aware that there are things that could be done if we can get the government channel to record them, presentations, something like these that people are interested in seeing, and because of the lack of funding for personnel, we are not able to utilize the government channel to its fullest ability. I mean, they're basically, if there's a meeting in City Hall and they might be recording 4 or 5 meetings at one time. So they're just flat out busy.
What's the name of the TV station? Is it Access Framingham?
No, if you go on the city website, it just says government channel.
Oh, okay.
I know the school department has their own channel. And I don't remember what number channel it is.
I'm
but I think Charlie, it'd be helpful if Charlie was aware that not only, I'm sure there are other boards and commissions and committees who would find it advantageous to have their stuff on the government channel. I remember.
Well, I'm just going to speak for us.
Well, I mean, for example, I remember years ago, my father used to be, did a TV show with Frederick Wallace on postcards, Framingham postcards from the 1920s and 1930s. And they would show them, and the government channel recorded it, and they put it up on the government channel for people to watch. It sounds like they wouldn't have the ability to do that anymore because, so, I mean, there are other things. Obviously, we need it, but I think there will be other interesting things that if they had more personnel, they could do.
Well, maybe that's why they're calling themselves government channels, because they're just recording things that only have to do with the running of the city of Framingham and not postcards from Framingham.
Well, they used to.
But the police, I know, but they were called Access Framingham. But the police advisory committee is
government
part of running the city.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas city a charter mandated committee. Okay.
And where pre-pandemic, Ron Rigo was all into helping us do PSAs, they don't have that ability anymore.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Any other comments about this section? Okay. So we'll move on to number 7. I just wanted the committee to be aware of this. Lee had reached out to the chief's administrative assistant and to redouble the efforts of, can the police department please let the committee know about upcoming community events that committee members might come to. And me as chair, I think the emails have gone out to the whole committee, but they've definitely, okay, they have gone out.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, I got it from Terry.
I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware. This seems to be the next nice community event, the Veterans Coffee Hour.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, May 17th at the McAuliffe Library. And I was told by Terry that this event happens every third Friday of the month. So it's a repeating event. So in the future, even if you don't get an email from Terry saying the event is happening, it is happening. And there's always a representative from the police department that's there. At the Veterans Coffee Hour starts at 10 a.m. And the next opportunity to go is May 17th. So, okay. All right. So agenda item number 8, other business. Oh, Lee, you got your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yes, Fred worked so diligently on the minutes, but we have not approved them from the last meeting. So I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
You're right.
I will second that.
I didn't put it in the agenda. How could I have forgotten to?
Thanks, Lee. I was going to make the same motion.
Okay, but it's not in the agenda, so I have to.
It's not on the agenda, so we can't vote on it.
Right, we can't vote on it. So what I'm going to do, I'm making myself a big note that next month's agenda, we will approve the minutes for
both meetings. Thank you, Lee. I didn't even notice that.
Neither did I, and that's bad.
And you sent the minutes out. I didn't get an agenda, but I got the minutes. but the minutes didn't end up on the agenda.
Yeah, I really kind of botched it this month.
Hey, you know, it was one of those.
Well, months. You said you've been traveling a lot. Your head probably doesn't know what state you're in.
Like every weekend from Easter until this past weekend, I was out of town.
Oh my goodness.
That, and it's been raining a lot, and I usually use the soggy brain excuse.
Yeah, I get more brain penetration, so that's probably
So,
yeah.
Try waxing. If you wax it, the rain will beat off.
okay. Okay. All right. That's an excellent other business topic, Lee. Thank you very much for catching that. My apologies too for
I just noted there's a bit of a theme here between Lee and Fred and Bobby. Ray, what do you got under the hat?
huh?
What's Ray hiding under that hat?
Oh, raisin. Oh, are you referring to the follicularly challenged gentleman?
Yeah, so I am super jealous about Fred's haircut. I love it.
Thanks. I like yours too. I actually got one of those electric razors that's a five-headed thing that's meant for bald guys.
Yeah, so mine's artificial intelligence. So, I'm way past you, and I'll share it with you, but it costs $700,000. So, sorry.
Mine's like $16.99 every 3 months. So I'll
I
Yeah,
had
I get it.
I had an uncle who used to say that God only made so many perfect heads, they covered with hair.
Yeah.
But jokingly, his nickname was Uncle Turtle because we went camping one year and the swimming hole was a pond, and he was swimming around the pond, but he decided to walk on the bottom, and all you could see was from here up. And we're like, oh my God, there's a turtle. Well, it was him. So he ended up with the nickname Uncle Turtle.
All right. Move on to adjournment.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I second, since we've been here a long time tonight.
Is that a bold attempt to end the meeting, Lee?
All right. Roll call for a vote to adjourn. Dwayne.
Yes.
Fred.
Yes.
Susie.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Bobby.
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
And myself. Yes. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Hopefully
Yeah.
somebody will be able to make it to the Veterans Coffee Hour. Maybe we can meet up.
Yeah, I'm unable. I'm gonna be taking care of, I'm gonna be doing nursing duties.
I don't know if I can, but I won't know until next week.
I'll try. My car's in the shop for service and I have to wait for it to get done, but I might be done just in time. So
Okay.
Okay.
Well, have a good night, everybody. Enjoy the nice weather, no rain.
Okay. All right. Good night, all.
thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Take care. Bye.